Okay, bonjour everybody. Hello. I'm looking forward to another Tuesday. My apologies for being late. When I talk about self-care, thing like actually eating food when you're hungry, that's self-care. So, and I recognized that I actually hadn't eaten all day. So I was like, I should probably eat before my live stream. I was starting to feel a little dizzy. But yeah, welcome. It is another wonderful Tuesday. I'm really, really humbled and thankful because we have rain today here in Mohkinstsis. And I know that personally I've been praying for it because there's been, a lot of fires and a lot of things that are happening, throughout Alberta, throughout BC, and we need the rain. And I think when we don't have it, that's when we appreciate it, but we whine about it when we do have it. So I think that's kind of silly. But this is life. But I just wanted to begin by welcoming everybody to the circle today, by not only doing the land acknowledgement, which is so, so important to acknowledge the land upon which we stand. And so, where I am calling in from or posting from, I'm in Mohkinstsis, which is better known as Treaty 7 territory or Calgary. And I am just really thankful to be where I am. I've always felt at home here. There's something really powerful about the Bow River and the Elbow River and the way that they come together, which literally means elbow. That's what Mohkinstsis means. And there's just something very special here. This is where I continue to build community and, reach out and meet incredible people and be able to share in a good way. Today I was sharing with little guys and it was a lot of fun. Um, and also just to be able to create those connections in community, because I think that's really important. This is why lateral violence is just dumb, because if other people, can create opportunities for each other, I mean, that's when we're going to thrive. And so this is why it's really, really important to just leave all the drama aside and actually work together to make the world a better place for all of us and all of our future generations. And so I want to acknowledge the Blackfoot of Siksika, Kainai, and Piikani, and all of the elders that I have learned from those nations. I want to acknowledge the Tsuut'ina, the Beaver people, and I love going down to Tsuut'ina. I actually haven't been to the new Costco yet, so I have to go. But I am very guilty of going down to White Eagle and spending way too much money. But also, I used to go to Sweats out there, and I really do miss that sense of community out there. And I also want to acknowledge and give thanks to Morley, which includes Chiniki, Bears Paw, and Wesley First Nations. Oh, congratulations to Bears Paw. They actually just got I don't know what it's called, but when you have full control over your funds and over your extraction contracts. So congratulations to them. So hopefully they will be the first in line of many to actually take control back from the government of, what we do. And I think our rights are so super important, and they're really leading the way. But I also want to acknowledge all of Morley, because I'm going to be out there doing a fast in a month, and I'm very, very thankful and humbled for that. And so I just acknowledge that land. I also acknowledge Métis Region 3, which is why I proudly wear my Métis sash to act as that bridge between Indigenous and non-Indigenous culture. And this was actually given to me by Blackfoot Elder. And so every time I wear it, I'm reminded of him, and I'm very, very thankful for the teachings that he has gifted me and just the journey that we've gone through together. And so I'm very, very humbled every time I wear this sash, because it just shows that I'm on the right path. And when you're recognized by an elder for doing the work that you do, it's very humbling, because you feel like, okay, I'm doing okay. Just like if an elder asks you to do something, you do it. And so I was actually talking a lot about protocol with a few people today, and I think it's really important to acknowledge what protocol is. It's before you ask anything. What you do is you approach someone, depending on the territory you're from, with whether it be tobacco or a sacred medicine or a gift of some sort, to begin that line of communication, because we don't just take without giving something back first. And so it's really important to start that relationship off with a gift, whether it be a gift of your time, even something as simple as a coffee. That starts that relationship, and I think that's really, really important to acknowledge that protocol. And so yeah, It was just one of those things that kind of popped in my head today. And so I just wanted to welcome everyone into the circle today by sharing the Cree welcome song. Now, traditionally when we sing songs, we sing in rounds of 4 to honor the 4 directions of the medicine wheel. But this song is a little bit different. We actually sing it in rounds of 3, and that's to keep the circle open and welcoming so everyone completes the circle today. Because in a circle, we're all connected. There's no beginning. There's no end. No one is greater or less than anyone else in the circle, just like in the hoop of life. So it teaches us to honor each other for those differences, because if we were all exactly the same, the world would be incredibly boring and nothing would ever get done. And so we really need those differences to be able to make our community resilient and strong and diverse and in just rich with so much culture and history and voices and knowledge and just all of the beautiful gifts that people bring to the table. I think that's really important, and that's truly what this song honors and represents. And so I honor the Not the How family for this song. They're from Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation, and I thank them for keeping this song and this story alive, because for so many generations, we weren't able to. We weren't able to share our songs or our stories, to speak our languages. I'm working hard to get my language back. I figure if I learn a few words a day before I go to bed, maybe something will sink in. So here's hoping. But to see how beautiful, our culture is still, and how much of it has been maintained. Yes, we have lost some, but I think it's really beautiful that Two-Spirit people are actually bringing it back, and that's really important as well. But just to acknowledge that family did. They kept that story. They kept it alive. They kept the meaning of this story alive. And so I'm humbled and I give thanks to them for this song, because whenever I sing this song, I feel like it's bringing in all of my ancestors. I feel like I'm calling on everybody's ancestors to come into the circle. And the reason we keep it in 3 is to keep that circle open and welcoming, and everyone completes the circle today so people can come in and out as they so need to. This is why it's really beautiful to be able to begin this any event or anything that I share with the song, because it welcomes everyone in, and if people need to go, that's okay. And if people end up coming in halfway through, that's okay too. And that's why this song is so beautiful. That's what it means. It doesn't just mean welcome, it also means beautiful. And typically I stand up to sing, but you guys can't see my mess behind me. I've been taking apart furniture, and I've had a couple of drum circles, and so there's a lot of drums and pieces of shelves and random stuff behind me. So yay for all of these virtual backgrounds. They make me very happy. But miasin, again, doesn't just mean welcome, also means beautiful. Miasin, miasin, hasemina, hasemina, epetakote, niwagomagan. Hota, homa, kitaskino. Miasen, miasen, hasemina, hasemina, epetakote, niwagomagan. Hota, homa, kitaskino. Miasen, miasen, hasemina, hasemina, epetakote, niwagomagan. Hota, homa, Itasino. Hi, and welcome to the circle today, everyone. Thank you so much, Grace. I really appreciate it. And so I always love to start with a smudge, just to kind of, put me in a good space to clean off anything I don't need and ask for the things in the world that I do need, to be able to share and to ground myself so I'm able to share what is meant to be heard with because I think that's important to know, like, don't plan ahead. Every time I plan ahead, everything just falls apart. So it's important to just, let creator speak through you and creator work through you. And oh my goodness, I have a prayer tie which is open on my desk and it has just decided to open. That was very strange. So apparently it needs to be used. So I always lay out all of my medicines before I smudge, even if I'm only using one medicine. And that's to honor the balance. And everybody looks at the medicine wheel a little bit differently. So with me, I have sweetgrass in the east for our mind. I have cedar in the south for our bodies. I have sage in the west for our emotions and our heart medicine. And then, of course, I have tobacco in the north. So I have all of this laying out for me, and I'm only using sage today. I've already pre-bundled some of it, just because I was smudging earlier with some little guys and it was really fun. I love the questions kids come up with, like, why do you burn things? Is that dangerous? Like, no, I think if you know how to take care of fire, it can take care of you, but quite the other way around. So, but again, there's no right or wrong way to smudge. And I'm going to go ahead and light the smudge here. Now, some people don't smudge on camera. I have different smudge bowls depending on what I'm doing. And so, for example, if I'm doing a public smudge, I'll use this smudge bowl. And so this includes online teaching. I use this for that because this is what it's intended for. I have a personal smudge bowl, which is like really cute and super small. And that one I just use for me whenever I need it. Then I also have a medium-sized one that I use specifically for ceremony. So that one is never recorded. My personal one is never recorded. But the teaching one, as I call it, my public one is open to be recorded. So this is why when I share online, I only use this one. And this is actually a new one because I don't know where my old one went. But it's a gift to have another one. So, oh, that was really weird. Oh, look, it disappeared. That's really cool. Okay. Sorry, virtual backgrounds just make me giggle. All right, so you'll notice I'm fanning with my hand. I never blow on it because our breath is our life and our life is precious. And we don't waste it for anybody. And so I'm just going to smudge here. So the first thing I do is I clean my hands in it. Then I bring it over my body 4 times, down the 4 directions of the medicine wheel. Look at my body. I'm going to slide that over there. A little easier. Smudge my mind so I think clearly and learn from every person that crosses my path. So I can be open to hear all of the messages or open to learn, and never be rigid with my thinking. Smudge my ears so I can be open to hear all the messages Creator sends me. To remind myself I have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And to give thanks for my hearing. Smudge my eyes so I give thanks for my vision. So my vision is clear and precise. So I see not only what is seen, but also the unseen. And to give thanks for my vision. I smudge my nose so I smell danger, nature, and cookie. I smudge my mouth so I speak only true and kind words that are helpful and benefit mankind. I always ask myself, is it truthful? Is it helpful? Is it kind? Is it respectful? If it's none of those things, it's not in line with the 4 teachings. So don't say it, don't do it. Or the 4 directions of the medicine wheel. I smudge my throat because I'm very thankful for my voice this lifetime so I can continue to give voice to the voiceless. I smudge my shoulders and my back. So I can carry all of my responsibilities this lifetime in a good way. I smudge my arms and my hands so I can do the good work that Creator's put me here to do. I smudge my lungs to honor the sacred breath that we all share, to remind me to be humble and know that we share all of the sacred breath with all of our generations, and the plants and the animals and all our relations. I smudge my heart so I remember to be kind and compassionate and show unconditional love to all those around me, to my friends, to my family, to the people I work with, and people I share with, those I haven't met yet. But also with ourselves, because I think sometimes we're pretty hard on ourselves. We need to be able to be kind. Okay, I'm going to smudge my stomach, so all of the food that I eat this day will nourish my body. I had a very, very good meal before I came on. This is why I'm late. I smudge my womanhood because I'm very thankful to be a woman and a mother in this time, but also to honor the fact that I am a two-spirit woman and I walk in both worlds. I smudge my belly button because that's where our spirit is, to remind me to connect with my ancestors whenever I make good decisions, to remember to honor that internal Thunderbird or intuition because that's our spirit yelling at us and it's never wrong. Right, I'm going to smudge my legs. So I walk this red road in a good way. That's the path of Aboriginal spirituality. I'm going to smudge my feet so I stay grounded and connected to Mother Earth, treading lightly upon her, honoring her with every step. And then if there's anywhere else you need a little extra love, so today I was beating with kids, so I was over top of them, so my back's a little sore from reaching down. But it was good. They made really cute little bracelets. I made it as simple as possible for them. Tried to tell them the story behind why we use certain colors, but we'll get there. Awesome. And then if there's anywhere in your body you need a little extra love, like my hips, I always smudge because of my 4 hip surgeries that, my hips aren't exactly in the best shape, but I still love them and appreciate the fact that they hold me up and that I'm walking. So I'm very thankful for that. And then if there's anyone in your life that you want to send that extra love to, that appreciation to, that healing to, you send them to them. And when you're all done, you say thank you, or magwitch, or merci, or gracia, or sheshe, or hey, however you say thank you in your language, because your language is important, and this was why it's important to reclaim our language, the language of our ancestors, so that we can, honor the path that we're walking in, so that we can acknowledge, sometimes that trauma is not ours to bear. It's something that was enforced on us, and so by acknowledging and saying that in our language, we're saying, I acknowledge my language, I acknowledge that history, I acknowledge that past, but I also, let those things go that aren't mine to carry. And so, yeah, I am done. So I've had a story going through my head, which is, it was one of my Auntie Frida Hinneku's stories. And it's called How the Mouse Got His Brown Teeth. And I remember her sharing it a couple of times when I went to visit her on the reserve. I'm from Muskeg Lake Cree Nation, which is in Saskatchewan. And that's also in Treaty 6 territory. But yeah, I just remember going back there in the summers and hearing wonderful stories and hanging out with, sneaking off to hang out with elders. Yeah, this story, it was very, very cute. And when I saw it was online in a book form, I of course picked it up. But I will tell it as I remember it. So a long, long time ago, there was a young boy, and he was raised by his kukum. Kukum means grandmother in Cree. And so his grandmother would take him out on the trap lines, and he became really, really good at weaving traps. Like, he was phenomenal at weaving traps. He knew all of the hitches and all of the stitches and all of the, ways to tie it and all of the ways to make it stronger. And so he just kind of became a pro at trapping in his own way. And his grandmother would always warn him, like, never leave a trap unattended. And this was a really good teaching, because you never know if you leave unattended. If an animal's stuck in there for too long, they could suffer. And in our teachings, you don't let animals suffer. And so he was very good about watching it. And then one day, as he was wandering through this forest, he saw this huge path. He was able to track animals because of the path that they left behind, but he had never seen a path like this before. It went down along the ground and then up over the treetops. It rose so high, and then as he followed it for what seemed like almost a full day, it finally went down, and he thought, what is this animal? And he kept trying to track it, but it was the same path, slightly altered almost every single day. And he thought, what is this animal? Well, maybe if I catch it, I can find out what it is. And so he decided that night as the sun was setting, so that he didn't tip off this giant animal that he had never seen, he would set a trap. And so he set a really nice sized trap, thinking, okay, well, it's a pretty large animal, so of course it won't be able to get out of this. But when he came back the next day, the trap had been broken in many pieces, and look, it was singed. He thought, huh, this is really weird. Well, I'll make it stronger. And so he wove it again the next day, really, really strong. And of course, he laid that trap before he went to sleep. And then he woke up, but it wasn't quite morning, and his grandmother was standing at the foot of his bed, and he said, "Nonsense, did you leave something out last night?" And he thought about it, and he said, "Oh, the trap! I did cook 'em. Wait, isn't it still night? Why is it dark?" And he poked his head out, and he could tell it was supposed to be daylight, but there was no sun in the sky. His cookum shook her head and said, "You should go find that trap, young one." And so he packed up enough lunch, because it was a long journey to wherever that trap ended up, because that animal is quite large, and that track that he took every day, well, it was pretty long. And so he began, and he started at the end, and then he continued to go closer and closer and closer until he finally saw what was stuck in his trap, and it was the sun. And he knew he had to get it out somehow, and he tried to get close to let it out, but it would not get free, and he couldn't get close enough to pull that last little knot, because it was just too hot and too bright, and he couldn't see what he was doing. So he asked the animals for help, and so the bear said, "Well, my claws are pretty strong, let me try." And so the bear was trying to claw it out, but of course he kept burning his paws, and the bear used to have fur on his paws, but now he'd burnt all of that fur off. So he had handprints, just like the humans. And the wolf tried it as well, and of course burnt off all of that stuff on his paws. And the beaver said, "Well, I could try to cut down the tree, but there was just no way with the tension that it was safe enough to cut down the tree." And so all of the animals had tried and failed, and he was so frustrated. He's like, "What am I going to do? What am I going to tell my cookum? Oh my gosh, are we ever going to have daylight again?" And he asked any animal, "Is anybody able to do this?" And all of them shook their head. They're like, "No, we can't get close enough. It's too hot. It's too bright. We're all going blind. We're all losing hair. There's got to be something that someone can do." And then he heard a tiny voice, "I can do it." And as he looked around, he saw a tiny little mouse. And he said, "Well, Mouse, you're so small. Like, there's no way that you can go and untie that knot." And she said, "I can do something." And so she climbed up that ladder, and she got so, so close to the sun. And as she started to chew away at the trap line, she broke the sun free. The sun took off high into the sky and vowed never to touch the land again. And so this is why we can never get to the sun or touch the sun anymore. And as she soared up, the beautiful little mouse ran down to the boy. He said, "Thank you for setting the sun free." But as the mouse smiled to say, "You're welcome," he noticed her teeth were completely burned by the sun. And this is now to the day why mice have brown teeth. And so, that is the story. But I'm going to share a song. I was thinking of the laughing song today, just because it is such a fun, happy song. And this is from, I believe, the Four Wind Singers, or how I learned it. But it's really about not taking yourself too seriously. It's about being able to smile, being able to laugh, being able to appreciate the things that are around you. Because I think we need to do that. There's a lot of division and divisiveness, especially with political campaigns kind of starting to flare up. And so I think it's important to just dial it back and look at what's important. It's important to connect with friends. It's important to connect with family. It's important to, bring community together in a big way. And if we're so busy arguing about politics, how are we supposed to take care of each other? And so this song teaches us, don't sweat the small stuff. Laugh about it. If we're disagreeing over politics, just come on, get over it. But it's really about just finding those simple joys with the land, with the animals, and with each other. And so this is the laughing song, or the happy song. And I love it because me and my mom, when we were first learning it, we would just laugh hysterically because we kept messing it up. So I may mess it up and I might giggle. Oh, and it just keeps disappearing, doesn't it? Way high yo, way high, high yo, way ho, way ho, why yo, way ho, way ho, way yo, way yo, way yo, way high yo, way high, high yo, way ho, why yo, way ho, way ho, way yo, way yo, way yo, way high yo, way high, high yo, way ho, why yo, way ho, way ho, way yo, way yo, way yo, way high yo, way high, high yo, way ho, why yo, way ho, way ho, way yo, way yo, way high yo, way high, high yo, way ho, why yo, way ho, way ho, way yo, way yo, way yo, way high yo, way high, high yo, way ho, why yo, way ho, way ho, way yo, way yo, way yo, way high yo, way high, high yo, way ho, why yo, way ho, way ho, way yo, way yo, way yo, way high yo, way high, high yo, way ho, why yo, way ho, way ho, way yo, way yo, way high yo, way high, high yo, way ho, why yo, way ho, way yo, way yo, way high yo, way high, high yo, way ho, why yo, way ho, way yo, way yo, way high yo, way high, high yo, way ho, why yo, way ho, way yo, way high yo, way high, high yo, way ho, why yo, way ho, way yo. I love that song. It's just really fun. I have a couple of songs that speed up like that. That one doesn't speed up as much as the rain song, mind you, but it's still a lot of fun. And so the next song that I kind of wanted to share, it's a healing song. It's really about coming together and healing in a good way. And I think we need that more in the world, more than more than ever. We're seeing a lot of damage and devastation that's already starting to happening due to climate change, and I'm really we know that that's definitely preventable as long as we just live by natural law. Like, we are part of creation. We're not above it or below it. We're part of it. And so it teaches us that we need to honor all of those things. And so this is to pray for the healing of the families that are suffering right now, the people who are going through a lot, the animals and plants that are suffering as well. And so this is really about asking for the things that you need. And yeah, this is the Cree healing song. It's also called the crying song or the wailing song. So in it you can hear the tears, and it's really about sending that healing out to the universe. So we of course drum it 4 times, 1 for each direction of the medicine wheel, and the 3rd time we actually stop drumming, and in that silence we invite those prayers to come in. We are asking our ancestors to gather those prayers and take them for us, and then when that drum beat comes back in, we're letting all of those things go to the universe to do the work that needs to be done. And so, yeah, this song is done with a heartbeat, which which is a prayer beat or an honor beat, also known as a women's beat, because we are the heartbeat of Mother Earth. And so this is the healing song, the crying song or the wailing song. And I think there's so many of my elders that have actually passed this forward. And so I'm just humbled and thankful every time I can sing it, because I think it's meant to be shared when it's meant to be shared. So this is the Cree healing song. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya ho, way high, way high, way high yo, way high, way high, way high yo, way high, way high yo. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya ho, way high, way high, way high yo, way high, way high, way high yo, way high, way high yo. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya ho, way high, way high, way high yo, way high, way high, way high yo, way high, way high yo. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya ho, way high, way high, way high yo, way high, way high, way high yo, way high, way high yo. That song is a very powerful song. I always feel just so much energy just like moving through me when I do that song. And so, yeah. I'm actually going to share the Thunderbird story and the Thunderbird song, because I haven't actually shared the Thunderbird story in a while. And it's fun. And I love it. And the Thunderbird actually teaches us a few different things. So the Thunderbird teaches us that everything happens for a reason, and to really be humble about it, to know that, you know, we can't go back to change the past. All we can do is really learn from it and grow from it and appreciate those moments of learning and teaching, no matter how frustrating or how, you know, traumatizing some of those moments might have been. It created the person that you are, and so you have a choice where you want to take that. You can take it and make yourself stronger, or you can have that, you know, shell that isn't really healing for you. It's not letting you to be open and vulnerable and to let that healing process happen. And of course, we can't reverse time. You just have to move forward. You have to keep moving on. And unfortunately, in our society, we're like, what what if? What shoulda, coulda? But it's recognizing that the Thunderbird puts us where we need to be, to learn those lessons that we need to share to make us stronger for, you know, our future generations. You know, for those people that we are going to be sharing with in our lives. And so, but the story that I know of the Thunderbird, it's actually not just the Thunderbird story. It's the story of Wasakajak, who is, he's like the Cree, he's kind of like Nanaboju, and he's kind of like, Nanaboju is in Anishinabe, and Napi is in Blackfoot. But Wasakajak, kind of the same jam. That's kind of the same guy. And so Wasakajak, he kind of dropped the ball the first time we were here on Earth, and so he wanted to make sure that we learned to live in a good way for the second time that we were on Earth. So it was very protective. And when we were brought back to Earth, it was quite warm. It was cool, and it wasn't like super cold. It was good. But one winter, we started freezing to death. We got really cold, and so Creator thought, okay, Wasakajak went to Creator and said, okay, Creator, like, these two-leggeds, they're dying. They're not like all of the other animals who have fur to be able to keep them warm, or who hibernate to be able to keep them warm, so throughout the winter. So we need something to give to these two-leggeds to be able to get them through the winter, to be able to, you know, clothe them so they stay warm, to be able to put them in homes, like, so that they stay warm. So Creator, who can we ask? And Creator sent for the buffalo. And the buffalo came to Creator, and Creator explained the situation that was happening with the four-leggeds, how not only were they freezing to death, but they were also starving, because they really didn't have anything that they had saved up through the winter, because they didn't know what the winter was going to be like. And so the buffalo very graciously said, well, I will teach them. I will teach them how to use me fully and completely to be able to survive through the winter and to be able to survive on the land in a good way. And so the buffalo went to them and explained how to hunt and taught them how to use every single piece of the buffalo, how to use all of the meat, how to dry the meat, how to cook the meat, how to be able to scrape the hides and, tan the hides, to be able to like lay them out, to be able to make clothes for themselves, which was amazing. But also not only that, but to be able to create teepees for themselves so they would be able to stay warm throughout the winter. And this lasted for quite some time. And the two-leggeds, us, we had a really good relationship with the buffalo. And so we always had what we needed, and they were always in abundance, because of course we never overhunted, because we understood the respectful relationship that we had with them. But a few years had passed, about the 4th year, and it got so cold. Like, even all of the buffalo hides that they had that they were wrapping themselves in, the buffalo robes that they were sleeping on, nothing was keeping them warm because it was just so bitterly cold. And so Wasakajak went to Creator and said, Creator, like, even with the buffalo robes, even with the buffalo skin and the teepees, that they're freezing. The two-leggeds are freezing again. Creator, we have to do something. And Creator said, I don't know of anything else that we could do. And Wasakajak thought about it for a moment, and he said, well, Creator, what about fire? Can we give them fire? And Creator was like, no, let's not give them fire, because the first time around when we gave them fire, they just devastated their world. But Wasakajak, once he gets an idea in his head, he is committed. And so he said, okay. And he just walked away. And of course, he went to get fire. The only place that he knew carried fire, which was the Thunderbird. So the Thunderbird, not only did she carry all of, the power of the rain and the storm, but she also gave birth to fire. Because when lightning strikes, it gives birth to fire. And so she had all of these beautiful fire eggs in her nest. And Wasakajak went up to her and said, Thunderbird, you have so many of these beautiful eggs. I think you should give some fire to the two-leggeds, because they're freezing down there. They're all dying because they can't live through the winter, and we should probably protect them. And the Thunderbird shook her head and said, Wasakajak, you already asked Creator, and Creator already said no. So I'm sorry, but I can't give you one of the fire eggs for the two-leggeds. And so Wasakajak said, all right, and walked out of her her cave. But he was making a plan. He was making a plan to go and steal one of the fire eggs to be able to gift to the two-leggeds. And so he waited until night fell, and then he heard the Thunderbird sleeping with her beautiful rolling thunder of snores. And so he knew she was asleep. And so he tiptoed into the cave. He tiptoed towards her nest, and he reached very gently underneath to grab one of her very warm fire eggs. And then he started sneaking back towards the exit of the cave. But he got a little cocky, and so he thought, yeah, I did this, and he started strutting, and then, not paying attention to where he was going, he actually tripped over a root, and he dropped the fire egg. It cracked and started rolling down the hill, and as it continued to roll down the hill, it started catching things on fire, which of course woke up a whole bunch of the animals, which in turn, that panicked sound that was happening just outside of her cave woke the Thunderbird. Thunderbird opened her eyes, and she looked towards the mouth of the cave where Wasakajak was standing with his arms empty. And she knew he had stolen an egg. And she said, Wasakajak, I said no. So he started running. She started flying after him and started dipping and diving, trying to chase him down the side of the hill. Meanwhile, she was making it snow. She would put out a lot of that fire that was being caused by that egg rolling down the hill. He ran after the egg, and he grabbed it, and he didn't know where else to put it, so he just swallowed it and held it in his belly. Ooh, he got really bad heartburn. But then he began to run away from that beautiful Thunderbird who was zigging and zagging and zigging and zagging, but could not catch him. And finally she said, Wasakajak, just hold still. And he was like, okay, well, she can see me because there's snow all over the ground because it's winter, and my hair is jet black, so I have to turn myself into something white. And so he turned himself into Papoose, the rabbit. And so he started jumping, and of course she was dipping and diving trying to get him, and he started zigging and zagging and zigging and zagging to escape and to hide within the snow. Now the rabbits had never seen the zigging and zagging, this movement, before, and they thought, wow, that's a pretty effective way to get rid of predators. And from that point on, whenever they were running away, they were always zigging and zagging and zigging and zagging and zigging and zagging, just like Wasaka-Jack. And so Wasaka-Jack continued to run. He saw a clearing of trees, and he thought maybe they would protect him. So as he hopped closer, he said, "Aspens, aspens, can you protect me?" And they started shaking because they were afraid of the Thunderbird. They knew that the Thunderbird could strike them down with lightning at any time. And so even though they stood strong and proud, they started to shake and to tremble. And they said, "No, Wasaka-Jack." And still to this day, whenever that wind hits them, they begin to tremble. This is why we call them the trembling aspens, because they're terrified of the Thunderbird. And so Wasaka-Jack continued to run. He continued to zig and zag and jump in and out of clearings until he saw this beautiful clearing of stark white trees. They were just beautiful and breathtaking, stark white against the dark sky, and you could barely see the snow at their feet because they blended so well. And he thought, well, I'm Wapoose. I'm the white rabbit right now. I can hide there. That would be the perfect spot. So he started to bound towards them and said, birch trees, can you protect me?" And they said, "Of course, Wasaka-Jack, we will stand strong and tall. We are not afraid of the Thunderbird." And so the Thunderbird saw that last little hop of Wasaka-Jack jumping into the trunk of a birch tree. And she was mad. She said, birch trees, give me Wasaka-Jack. He has something of mine that I need back." And they said, "No, we will stand tall and we will protect Wasaka-Jack because he was doing the right thing for the two-leggeds, because they're all dying." And she was angry, and so she began to tear at them and claw at them with her lightning claws, digging deep into their white flesh until all of these birch burned claw marks were within their bark. And still to this day, when we look at the birch tree, they are stark white with those deep gouges and burn marks within them from the Thunderbird. And so Wasaka-Jack came out. He turned himself out of Wapoose, and he said, "Thunderbird, Thunderbird, I will give you your egg back, but I need you to turn around." And the Thunderbird stopped for a moment. She said, "Fine." She turned around and she saw the two-leggeds coming towards the fire that was coming down the hill towards them. And as they got close, they started to warm themselves in the fire. They turned from a chalky white of almost dying, and all of the life returned to them. As they warmed up, they started to tell stories. Stories of everything that they had just witnessed. Stories of the magnificent Thunderbird, of Wasaka-Jack and his tricky ways, of the Wapoose and how it now zigzags, of the trembling aspen, of those deep gouges in the birch trees. And so as they began to share these stories, it softened the heart of the Thunderbird. And the Thunderbird said, "Wasaka-Jack, yes, we can give the two-leggeds fire, but you will have to teach them the ways of fire. You will have to teach them fire ceremonies and teach them how to protect fire and live in one with fire." And so Wasaka-Jack came to the two-leggeds and gifted them with fire, taught them all of the ceremonies behind fire, how to maintain it, take care of it, and honor the relationship that we have with fire. And as he did, we learned so much, and we never froze through another winter again. And so that is the story of the Thunderbird and the fire. And so now I'm going to share the Thunderbird song. I shared it last week, but I just love this song. But this is, it just reminds me to stay humble, and it reminds me, everything happens for a reason. And, just like all of that fiasco happened for the reason. So the Thunderbird had to be able to see what that fire was going to do for those for the two-leggeds, and how it was going to be able to help us. But not only that, how it's going to be able to create stories for us to share. And I think in some ways the Thunderbird teaches us to be humble, but I think she has a little bit of a streak where she's a little conceited, so she liked the fact that they were telling stories about her. But when I sing this song, it's really about honoring the path that we're on, recognizing that sometimes some of the worst things happen for the best reason. So I was hit by a truck almost 10 years ago now, and I had a choice in that moment. I was like, what if this truck hit me? Because it sucked getting hit by a truck. But as I couldn't walk for about a month and a half, I had to kind of recognize that everything happened for a reason. So there was a reason that truck had struck me, and there was a reason that I was injured, and so I had to kind of dial it back and go, okay, what path am I on right now, and what Thunderbird signs was I ignoring? Because of course the Thunderbird, if you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, will try and like nudge you on the right path until eventually she'll hit you with a truck, apparently. But it's really about acknowledging that those things happen for a reason. Had it not been for that truck hitting me, I wouldn't have been involved with, I don't know more, I wouldn't have been involved in politics. Now I'm just like, I don't even want to be involved in politics. But I still stand up for social justice. But it wouldn't have put me on the path that I'm on now, sharing my drumming and my singing and my teachings and my songs and my stories. And so I'm thankful and I'm humbled for that event, because it put me where I needed to be. And sometimes those jarring situations that happen, they happen for a good reason. And so this is what the Thunderbird teaches us. It teaches us to pay attention, to listen to our intuition, that we have a choice. We can either take the hard path or the easy path. And if we continue to take that hard path and keep putting more and more roadblocks in our way, even though the Thunderbird's trying to take them out of the way or trying to nudge us where we need to go, eventually things will just get Thunderbird will just get frustrated and go boom. So what our intuition is, it's our ancestors. It's our ancestors pushing us forward. It's our the Thunderbird pushing us forward. It's our own spirit pushing us forward in a good way. And so it teaches us how to just trust it. It also teaches us how to make better decisions for all of our future generations, because that's truly what the Thunderbird is. She's protecting those future generations, but she's also telling us to listen to our past generations so that we can make decisions for the future. And so, this is the Anishinabe Thunderbird Song, and I had learned it, I think originally, I'd heard it growing up, but I didn't like learn it until Carrie Moore, who's an elder here in Mohkinstsis, so I'm very thankful for her. So this is the Thunderbird Song. Kichima peso, mani tu kichiwai no, wea heya heya yo, wea heya heya yo, we highway yo. Kichima peso, mani tu kichiwai no, wea heya heya yo, wea heya heya yo, we highway yo. Kichima peso, mani tu kichiwai no, wea heya heya yo, wea heya heya yo, we highway yo. Kichima peso, mani tu kichiwai no, wea heya heya yo, wea heya heya yo, we highway yo. Kichima peso, mani tu kichiwai no, wea heya heya yo, wea heya heya yo, we highway yo. So I want to share this song, thinking of Carrie Moore. This, I believe, was her grandmother's song. And it's a call and response song. Aww. That's amazing. So you can sing too. So this song is, it's a call and response. So everybody sings it together. But the story behind this song And a long time ago in our tribal days, women would traditionally go berry picking, and we had very matriarchal societies, so the women were always the ones in charge. And of course, the grandmothers were the ones making all the decisions, but it wasn't that they were just making decisions and that they were the ones in charge. They were making sure that everybody's voices were heard and that everybody was taken care of and everybody was brought into the circle and nobody got left behind. And I think this is what we need to look at when we look at matriarchal societies. It's that nobody got left behind. It wasn't about hierarchy like patriarchy is, but it's really about recognizing that everybody is involved in the circle and everybody needs to be part of that circle. And so the grandmothers would ensure that. And so as everybody would go berry picking, it was the women and the kids that would go berry picking. Any of the men who basically had retired from hunting because they were getting a little up there, they would come as well to be able to share stories with the young ones. And so the grandmothers, of course, were the ones in charge, but they would sit at the biggest bush watching all of everybody, making sure nobody got into too much trouble. But for the most part, they would be watching the babies. And if anybody knows how babies explore the world, well, they shove everything in their mouth. And so they'd be like, oh, don't eat that bug, or spit out that pine cone, or don't chew on dirt, or ooh, you're eating another bug? That's great. Or put the squirrel down. Squirrels don't belong in your mouth, because babies will put anything in their mouth. Trust me on that. And then, of course, the littler kids were running around, and they would be sitting with the elders and eating berries, listening to stories, and generally be sticky. That hasn't changed in thousands of years, because under the age of 5 are generally sticky. The older kids would be running around playing tag, skipping stones, playing hand games, just exploring and learning about the things in the world around them, learning from their elders, and really playing to learn, because that is the best way to learn. And I think we need to instill play through learning with our kids. The teenage girls would be off, not really picking as many berries as they should be because they'd be too busy, talking about their crushes. Like, oh my gosh, did you see that guy's moccasins? He was like so super cute. Yeah, that hasn't changed in thousands of generations. If you were a boy, once you turned 12, you're considered on your path to becoming a man, so you would go off hunting with the men. If you were a two-spirit person, you would not only learn all of the ways of berry picking and all of those traditions and stories, but you would also go hunting with the men, so you could learn that as well. So if there was ever a need for someone, you would be able to fill both those masculine and feminine roles. But we have some incredible women that weren't two-spirit, but they were incredible warriors. And so it was like, where were you drawn to? What did your elders help you find your path of? But this was really important. So as everybody would get scattered to the 4 directions doing their own thing, and it was time to go, the grandmothers would call out. But they wouldn't say, yo, where you at? Because that would be ridiculous and totally not relevant to the era. But they would call out using this voice. And as soon as you heard that voice, you knew exactly who was calling you. And so I would hear, and be like, oh, well, that's my cookum, I should call back. And so I would call back, and she'd be like, oh, well, there's Chantal. And then I would hear the other voices. All right, there's my cousin Yvonne. I know she's over there. Hi. Sorry, that's my mom's voice, and I can't do it with a straight face, but she's over there. There's my son Lyndon. I know he's over there. There's my cousin Megan. I know she's over there. And so as you would hear these voices, you would know exactly where everybody was and that it was time to come home. Now, this was really important because in times of war, you would have a safe camp, but you wouldn't just walk in and be like, hey, is everybody okay? Because you didn't know, right? You didn't know if it was safe. You didn't know if your camp was compromised. And so you would wait until silence fell and until darkness fell. And then you would call out. And you would listen. Right, there's my friend Ashlyn. I know she's over there. Hi. There's my mom again. I know she's over there. There's my Auntie Georgie. I know she's over there. Or there's my cousin Stephanie. Oh, I miss her. She's over there. There's my friend Darcy. I know he's over there. Whoop, 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 whoop. There's my cousin Michelle. She's a little weird, but she's over there and she's fine. And so as you were to hear these voices, you would know exactly where everybody was and then it was time to come home. Now, this was really, it was just such a gift to be able to find everyone. And so at the end of the song, what we do is we let out our voice. And so you're going to scare your neighbors by letting out your voice. It's going to be great fun. But it's really about finding who you are and finding the core of who you are, because that's what your voice is. So my voice is, And people try and copy it, but it's not mine, or it's not their voice. This is my voice. And so it's really about finding your own voice, and it comes right from here, right from your spirit, right from your belly button. And so we take a deep breath, and you're going to let out your voice, which is going to be amazing, and you're going to scare everybody in the neighborhood. It's going to be great. And it might come out as a squeak or a roar, as an alien sound or an animal sound, or who knows. But no matter what, once you find your voice, you feel like you just want to keep doing it over and over and over again. And it's the first genuine sound that you ever make. And so sometimes when you find it, you laugh hysterically because you can't believe that sound came out of your body. And sometimes you cry because it's the first time that you've heard your genuine self, and it brings up all of this stuff that you've kind of held in for so long. But no matter what, it feels amazing, and you just want to continue to let it out that way. I use mine all the time. I use mine at Walmart. I use mine at the grocery store. So whenever I lose my kids, if I'm just sick and tired of just running in loops, I'll just call out, and then I'll hear, there's my son Lyndon, usually in the electronics, there's a toy section. And then I'll hear, Mom, could you just not? You're embarrassing me. All right, there's my son Cloud, usually in the deli. And then I'll hear shuffling footsteps behind me, and then I can't believe you just did that. Ariel and Chloe are behind me. So we'll get there. We'll get there. But I find them every single time. And so, it's really just a call and response. And so it's the grandmother calling out, and you're calling back. If you're looking for your voice, sometimes it'll get stuck in different places. So just kind of recognizing where it's getting stuck, finding it, and letting it out. So is it getting stuck in your mind because you're overthinking things? You're often worried too much about what other people think of you, and you just can't calm your mind to just stop and find it and let it out. Is it getting stuck here in your mouth because sometimes you just talk for the sake of talking, and you're not really saying what you want to say? You're not really letting out your true thoughts and your true feelings. Is it getting stuck here in your throat because you're not speaking out? You're not letting out your voice at all. You're not speaking up for yourself. You're not speaking up for those people in your life that need it. You're not standing up for the things that you truly believe in. And so no matter what, it's okay. Let out your voice. It's important. Is it getting stuck in here in your shoulders, your back? So this is pressures that we put on from like work or school or friends or family. Those weigh us down, and they hold our voice down. So these are voices that we put on for other people, and just recognizing that if they're meant to be in our lives, they want to hear our genuine voice. So don't try and people please. Just find you and let it out. Is getting stuck here in your heart. So this is where a lot of like that pain, trauma, sadness, that hurt will stay. And so it's recognizing that you didn't deserve that hurt. And to let it out, to release that hurt, and just find that love of yourself, and recognize that you're worthy of love. And so to really claim that and hold that in your heart, and then let out your voice, your true, genuine, loved self voice. Is it getting stuck here in your tummy? This is where, any self-esteem issues, whether your self-worth, your self-esteem, the way that you talk to yourself, that's all here. So if you're like, oh, I suck, or I can't do it, or you try to compare yourselves to others, it will hold your voice down. And so recognize that you're amazing, and don't compare yourself to other people because they're not on the same journey as you. And there's that saying, if everybody put all their piles or all their problems in a pile, everybody would grab their own pile of problems back. I think it's very, very true. And we tend to compare ourselves from others from afar, but we're not in their shoes. And it's important to walk our own journey. Or is it getting stuck on our belly button because we're simply not breathing deep enough, and we're not connecting to our ancestors? So just breathe really, really deeply. So put your shoulders back, puff out your chest, stick out your belly, because that's how we're going to fill our belly with the air. And also, it feels really good to breathe really deeply. And so at the end of the song, we're just going to let out that crazy sound, whether it be a woo or ow or yippee or however your voice comes out, it comes out. And so, this song is quite simple. It's just a call and response. The words are weya heya, weya weya heya. 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 Heya, Way ya hey ya, way ya hey ya, way ya hey ya, way ya hey ya. And we're gonna sing that through 4 times, down at the 4 directions of the medicine wheel. The 3rd time, though, we're gonna get a little quiet because that's the part of the story where they're looking for their safe camp. And then the 4th time, we're gonna get loud because we're gonna celebrate that we found each other. And the beat is nice and simple if you do have a drum at home. I know, it's kind of weird because you can't really see my drum as I'm drumming. It just keeps disappearing. But here we go. Way ya hey ya, 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 way ya hey ya. Way ya hey ya, 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 way ya hey ya. Way ya hey ya, 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 way ya hey ya. Here we go. Way ya hey ya, 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 way ya hey ya. Now we're gonna do a fast drum beat. This is like a prayer beat or an honor beat, kind of like a drum roll, please. It's building, and we're gonna let out our voice. 1, 2, 3, 4, go! Awesome. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. Again, I'm Chantal. I'm Cree and Métis and Anishinabe from Muskeg Cree Nation. And yeah, I do this. I try and do it every week. And I think I might be shifting. Usually I do it from 6:30 till 7:30 Mountain Standard Time, but I think I'm going to start starting at 8. Or sorry, not at 8. At 7, so that I have a chance to eat before my casts. So, Miigwech, everyone. Hi. Thank you so much for sharing with me this week. Yeah, looking forward to next week, and have a beautiful week ahead. If you have not looked at what's happening in Brazil, that is really important. Take a look right now. They're trying to abolish the rights of Indigenous people in Brazil, and that's going to affect all Indigenous people across the board if that is passed, because of course it's going to affect all of us. So yes, please contact, well, it's campaign season, so get them to make some campaign promises on what to do in Brazil. And so hi everyone, again, Miigwech, and I will see you next week. Thank you. Bye.